Okay, good morning everyone. My name is Antonio Sapien. I'm originally from the state of Michoacán. I had done my undergraduate studies in UNAM, but I am currently working in Hong Kong, City University of Hong Kong, where I've been for the last 15 years. First of all, I would like to thank you all for being here. I would like to thank Dr. Moran for the strong support of the Mexican Academy of Sciences in organizing this event. Also to Xu Hao, the Director for Science and Technology of the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in Mexico, and also representative of the Ministry of Science and Technology. Welcome all, and without further ado, I would want to give the opportunity to Dr. Moran to address his audience.
Yeah, good morning. It's really nice. It's a pleasure to have you all here, and I hope that after all this long journey of, across the country, you have had the opportunity to know a little bit not only what's going on in science, but also what our country offers. And in particular, I am really honored to have you here to try to find ways to collaborate and ways to find out how our two countries, Mexico and China, can join efforts in order to improve our relationship and to contribute to the advancement of science. So I am happy to be with you, and this is visit Mexico, your home. Anytime you want to come back, you are welcome. And it's one of our first event. I just started the charge of the presidency of the Academy just a few weeks ago. So this is not my first event as president of the Mexican Academy of Sciences. So I think it's a very good start. So I hope that you enjoy your time here in our premises. You have a chance a little bit to take a look around nice facility. Environments are not so bad. So, and the view to the city is also very nice. And we have today also a very nice day. So I hope that at the end of this journey we have important achievements and eventually starting some collaborations. So thank you very much for being here, and I am happy to tell you a little bit more later about what the Academy in our country does. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moran. So the next item on the schedule is the introduction of participants. And if I may, I'm going to ask Xu Hao to start. Then we will go with our guests from China, the organizers of the event, and other participants of this forum. Please, I will ask everyone to try to keep it brief, although we seem to be gaining some time.
Sí, señor, podemos empezar proyección. Gracias. Good morning, everybody. I'm from the Department of Science and Technology Embassy of China in Mexico. I'm sent by the Ministry of Science and Technology of China in charge of affairs exchange and cooperation between the governments of China and Mexico. Mucho gusto.
Thank you very much. I'm going to give the microphone to our Chinese colleagues.
I'm Yan from Peking University. I'm working in chemistry department. I'm mainly my research refers on carbon nanomaterials, usually carbon nanotubes, synthesis, quantization, and application. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jin Li from Tsinghua University, next door to Peking University. So it was in Beijing. It's really a pleasure to come to your country, and I really enjoyed the interaction with the scientists here. We hope with our visit we will be able to promote the collaboration and exchange between our two countries.
My name is Leo Lau. I used to work in Canada for many years, and then I worked in Hong Kong for 8 years. 7 years ago, I moved to China. Now I'm working in Beijing at the University called University of Science and Technology, Beijing. I'm establishing a new research center there, focusing on green technology, so renewable energy, a topic that we will discuss later today.
My name is Rong Wang. I'm also working in University of Science and Technology Beijing. My major is low-dimensional physics, surface science, and image microscopy.
Good morning. I'm Yi Qi from Shanxi University of Technology, China. I major in graphene and zinc oxide nanomaterials. Thank you.
My name is Ding Yan from Shandong University. My research is on the toxicity and biological effect of nanoparticles.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask my co-organizers.
My name is Elena Medina. I'm from Universidad Autónoma de Aguascalientes and I work on nanomaterials for environmental and biomedical applications.
Hi, good morning. My name is Sandra Rodil. I'm coming from the Material Research Institute of the UNAM and I have been working in projects in all.
Thank you very much. We also have a number of panelists from Mexico, and I'm going to ask them to spend just a few minutes to introduce yourselves. Maybe I start with. Thank you. My name is Enrique Camps. I work at the National Institute for Nuclear Research. My main work is working with the deposition of thin films using PVD systems, mostly base degradation and macro discharge.
Good morning, I'm Marina Rincon. I'm from the Renewable Energy Institute, and I'm working on energy conversions and storage.
Good morning, my name is Luis Herrera. I'm from National Polytechnic Institute. I am involved in material for energy conversion and storage.
Hi, good morning. This is Emilio Bucio from Nuclear Science Institute at National University of Mexico. I work in polymer science. Thank you.
Thank you. I am Juan Manuel Peralta Hernandez. I'm working in the Guanajuato University. My topic research is about electrochemistry process coupling with photocatalysis applications.
My name is Martin Trejo from the National Institute for Technique. I'm working in materials for energy storage.
Good morning, my name is Rosa Maria Ramirez Zamora. I am the academic secretary of the Institute of Engineering of the UNAM and also work as researcher in the Department of Environmental Engineering. I work about the development of nano-photocatalysts and also the application of industrial wastes for the degradation of pollutants and the simultaneous production of hydrogen. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Vicente Rodriguez. I'm from Institute for Science and Technology, San Luis Potosí, better known as IPPC. I'm working in material for catalysis, and environmental application. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. My name is René Rangel, also from EPC. I'm the head of the Department of Environmental Sciences. I work in absorption processes based on light solvents and carbon materials. in order to reach.
Hello, my name is Laura Ferkovic. I work in the Institute of Physics of UNAM, and I work in graphene synthesis and electronic properties of graphene.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you all for your time and your efforts to be here with us today. It's really valuable, and I am certain that we will have a very productive session, just like the ones that we have had in the previous 3 years, starting with Central Science and Technology in Ensenada, then Querétaro, one of its centers of CDS, CDTech, also the SINAM, National Center of Metrology, Simplesta Querétaro, and yesterday it was in Zacatenco and in UNAM. So thank you very much, and without further ado, I'm going to give the microphone to Dr. Moran, who's going to give us an introduction of the Mexican Academy of Sciences.
Well, Dr. Sapien asked me to give a short view of the activities that our academy carries on a regular basis. I sort of have a few of slides since I have only 20 minutes, I will maybe just pass on some of them quickly. So let me start to mention who are in charge of this academy. Okay, this is the board, who, my colleagues who help me in administrating and leading this academy. She is the vice president, astronomer, Susana Lizano, Maricela Blan is a physicist working at UNAM, the treasurer, and we have two secretaries, one that is elected, Carlos Coelho, who works in the National Polytechnic, and Alipio Calles, who works in Cognitive Sciences of the National University. Now, our membership now accounts for 2,700 members. And all in our organization, we also have what we call corresponding members, that are people, important researchers, scientists that work abroad. And we have 107 people, distinguished scientists all around the world, including Nobel laureates. We have 11 of them that come and work in collaboration with people here in this. This is a very bad slide because it's not easy to read. But what we have here, just very shortly, is a membership by section in humanities, and all of them national sciences, natural sciences, and mathematics, etc. And the gender, but this is just the distribution to have you an idea about the number and the fields in which our members work. Now, this is Mexico. You have been around here in Ensenada, and you're going to be at the end someplace here in the tip, in this other tip, in Cancun, in the meeting, material research meeting. And on this trip from here to here, you have visited several research centers and universities in our country, and we are organized by sections. These are the 6 sections, including Mexico City, that is the largest number of members. But this is the way we are organized regionally in our academy. In relation to honors and recognition of the scientific work, we have several recognitions. One, the most prestigious prize for young scientists is the one that our academy awards as a research prize for scientists that just started their career, but that already have important achievements. So this is the most prestigious in our country for young scientists. Then we have some other programs. This is awarded by a foundation, the Biden Foundation, that awards the best work in the doctoral thesis. The Academy also awards prize best doctoral dissertation in social studies and humanities. There are some awards for human and social sciences and humanities. This firm, L'Oréal, UNESCO, and AMC we have an agreement to award the work and recognize the work that women make in science. And we have also a collaboration with I think this is with the Embassy of Sweden to award a prize on water research. And there is another one for recognizes work in physics mathematics called Jorge López Award. These are some slides of the awards given. This is also very hard to read, but these are the relationship that we have with many, all these, I know that you cannot read all of these, but we have from universities, agreement with universities, with National Council of Science, with the Secretary of Public Education, Minister of Public Education, and so on. But we have certainly a relationship with quite a few organizations in our country. Now, in relation to the agreements in international collaboration, we belong to bodies, international bodies on different states or regions of the world. These are the multilateral agreements where we are even in the G-Science group, that is the 20 more advanced countries in the world that join to discuss problems related to the advancement of science all across the world. We belong to other international and unions of academies. And in relation to country relationship, we do have agreements with quite a few academies from France, Australia, plus Austria, China, Chile, and Germany. And actually, we have proposed an agreement with the National Academy of Sciences of China that is just being reviewed, and we expect to sign it very soon, either this year or starting next year. And well, there are some other agreements with other embassies and academies of other countries. This is a particular agreement that we have with a fund that is based in the south of Germany, in the border with Switzerland, that joins get together quite a few Nobel Prizes. They come to this island. This is an island in Coastal Sea, and the idea is to invite young researchers from all over the world to get together with Nobel Prizes to listen to lectures delivered by the laureates and eventually discuss some ideas with young people. We have an agreement signed so that we participate each year, and we select normally seven young scientists, and we pay all the expenses for this trip in order that they can participate in this very important meeting. Up to date, we have supported 40 young Mexican researchers to participate in this meeting. And they have also this fund, the Linda Fund also, each year ask a country to hold an international day that is to have the chance to show what is going on in a particular country that hosts this day. And we just hosted the international year in this summer. That again gave us the opportunity to talk with some more persons, academic representatives from several countries. In this case, they gave us the chance to invite not only researchers but also people that is related to science. So the head of the National Council of Science was there, and also the Minister for Science, for Education, Public Education was also there. This is another interesting program. The English fund, called Newton Fund, is a very generous program that offers the opportunity to exchange people for short periods or longer, several months. And this, this also is recently started this fund, but we have already had a few Mexicans taking the opportunity to discuss projects with English researchers, and we also host or support the visit of English scientists to our country. This is the foundation Mexico United States for Science, that also has already more than almost 20 years that is operating. This supports exchanges between Mexican and people from the United States, so that's a very interesting program. Also trying to find more collaboration with people in the United States. There are other programs that have to do mainly with promoting science and at the basic level with pupils in basic education, but also with the students at the middle or higher education, higher education programs. There are many. I will not go through all of them. Maybe I will just mention some of them. This is one of the oldest programs that has to do with the dissemination of science that we call Science on Sundays. That's the way that it started, but it's on the weekends. And what these are talks given by scientists to the general public in different places. Up to now, there have been called under this program more than 9,000 talks, and last year they were delivered around 500 talks. Now, these are just the ones that are organized by the Mexican Academy of Sciences, but this has been replicated by other states, and they organize their own activities on weekends with the same idea. So the number of persons that participate in this program is really very, very high, very large. This is a new program that started just a few years ago. I'm just trying to promote the dissemination of science. We're starting to get interest in young people, many children engaged in activities related to science and technology. This started in Yucatan, in the southeast part of Mexico, but has now replicated in other states in Mexico. So this is the number of children that have participated up to now, but this is increasing every day. Mathematics is one of our concerns, and we have also many activities related to better teaching in a better way the mathematics in all levels. The computation is also one of the concerns in relation to young people trying to handle and to learn about computation. Now this is moving more, since now kids have, this started also some time ago, but now we are more interested in other activities like robotics. That is, we are moving a little bit more towards new activities that have to do with computation, but not only as languages or communicating forms to work with robots, and that the kids start to do it in the early stages. Well, this is also the information about these activities, and this is what I was just mentioned, mobile robotics pedagogy. This is for older people, people that is already in bachelor in sciences, that this program, what awards is fellowships to stay during the summer, working with a scientist, an active scientist in any part of Mexico, and this is really, this is just the group that of students that were participating in the institutions located in Mexico City. So this is only a part of the total number of people involved in this. And that is one of our programs that we believe have more impact, because people that is in the early years of the bachelor in science, they have a chance to collaborate and to understand and learn about research on different topics. So this is very successful, and we are convinced that this is one of the programs we will have to continue supporting. So let me just give a part of the slides more. On the Olympiads, this is also for people that has not started the bachelor in science, but the bachelor programs, and the graduate programs that participate in the Olympiads in chemistry and biology. These two Olympiads are in charge of the Mexican Academy of Sciences, but there are the other two fields, mathematics and physics, but that were originally hosted by the Academy, but now are managed by the Mexican Academy, Mexican Physical Society, and the Mathematical Physical Society. They do their own work. So what we have now is just these two fields. There is one that is mainly local, that is related to Mexican history. That is also an Olympiad that is supporting in order to also promote social sciences in this kind of activities. Well, these are some of the results that we have obtained, the medals that we have been awarded to the Mexican team. This is also what we feel a very important program. and is related to activities in which we have the weekends, if they are in presence of presential tutorials, in order to better teach basic natural sciences and mathematics. But we also have online this activity, and this certainly is being more popular as online presential, and so that the numbers are increasing. People who uses this more as an online activity. This is part of the online program and the website where is hosted this activity. This is a very popular activity that has to do with observation at night, that is organized what we call Night of Stars. This is all spread all over the country, and the number of participants is really increasing exponentially. This is also a program that is supported as with seed funds to different states in the country outside the city. Well, I think these are other interesting but of local, let's say, local importance that is trying to get together to people, youngsters that have problems with law and they are confined in prisons, and so we go and talk to them and try to get some books and to read and to give some talks on sciences, and also to have them the chance to use computers and to communicate through electronic media, trying to pay attention to this group of youngsters that eventually are going back to society, and to then let them to know a little bit what is going on outside. The corresponding members that are elected and are selected through proposals, and there is a committee that approves the acceptance of these candidates, come to our country and deliver talks on different institutions depending on the field. This is also a very successful program in which very renowned scientists work and present to the Mexican community their achievements. So let me stop here. There are a couple of slides more that have to do with the publications and so on, but I think the idea was just to give you an idea of what kind of programs and what we are interested in, and that was the intention of Dr. Sapien to help me to do it. So I stop here and let's continue with the rest of the program.
Thank you very much, Jose Luis. Well, next in the program is myself. So if I might have, I'm just going to give a short presentation, and I'm going to ask, Sandra is very good at keeping me on time. Please, Sandra, if I overrun you, let me know. So this is going to be a brief introduction to let you know why we're here. I hope it's going to be very clear that I am extremely happy to be here. Yeah. So, and I'm going to tell you why is that. The pointer, please. Thank you. NANOMXCN, which is how we decided to call our association, started planning around maybe a little bit more than 4 years. Enrique was kind to remind me about meeting in the Materials Institute several years ago, and we couldn't determine exactly when. Anyway, this is the third event. We have had 2 previous ones, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about those in a minute. But the vision, our aim, is to foster long-term sustained effort to increase the scientific cooperation in nanomaterials, science, and technology. We believe this is important, and just to give you a very simple example of why we believe there is need for this kind of associations, organizations, and by no means we pretend to be the only one that is needed. Quite the opposite, we are convinced, and we hope all the colleagues in Mexico and in China will join us to make their own efforts in their own areas of research is important. And just to emphasize that need, there are 2 universities in the United States that have more collaboration with China than the whole country of Mexico. These are New Mexico State University and the State of New Mexico. We learned about this because we were looking for scientific publications in nano between Mexico and China, and then when we realized that we had to filter those, and we realized that the strength, comparative strength, is not quite what it should be. Mexico has many things to offer in terms of science. We represent only a small fraction of it, nanomaterials, for 2 topics of interest. These are very, very critical sources, issues for society. They are in the conscious of our society, as you can see from these examples of public news. But there are many other areas in which both Mexico and China can collaborate. And as I was saying, I hope that other friends and colleagues and other scientists will take this opportunity to think whether there's something that can be done in their area of research. Our delegation, my colleagues from China introduced themselves a minute ago, having traveling from Ensenada to Guadalajara just to spend overnight. It was a very difficult decision, but we had to already few meetings in Querétaro, where we visited few research places. We are now here, and we're going to end up in Cancun. The first meeting 2 years ago had a similar scheme, a work visit to some research centers in those cities from Mexico, and a workshop, part of the International Material Research Congress in Cancun, where we had 47 presentations, and we were very pleased to have the participation of colleagues from different parts of the world. This is just one example of what we're trying to promote. Personal interaction, getting to know each other, and very importantly, to overcome the cultural barrier, which actually, once we get to know a little bit better, is not a barrier at all. It's a joy to learn about each other. However, we were at UNAM, and the coordinator for international relationship mentioned also about this cultural barrier. It is some problem that needs to be overcome, on top, of course, of the distance, of course, of the other issues. So you can see here lots of happy faces, lots of very proud places, and in the rest of the day I will ask you to make an effort to get to know by person all of our colleagues here from Mexico, from China, from Hong Kong. We are people that care, and that's why we're here despite of the distance, despite of the difficulties. You will see some tired faces because we have been traveling around. We had the opportunity to visit the Centro Cultural Universitario, and we saw 5 minutes of it yesterday at 10 p.m. and then another 5 minutes of it at 8 a.m. So this is the kind of allowance that we are giving to our visitors to get to know a little bit of our culture, and I assure you we will have more time for that. But because and initially we wanted to have a very broad overview of the research potential in Mexico. That's why we ask you to bear with us, and we thank you very much for your patience. That's Professor Weibing Yang. He is the General Director of the Research Center of Environmental Sciences. He is also an organizer of this meeting. Unfortunately, he could not come for health reasons, but he sends his best regards. He let me know through message of Professor Bing Yang that he is very pleased with the organization. He's very happy of the achievements we have done. And you can see him here at Simvestab Zacatenco at the Department of Nanotoxicology talking to Dr. Arnulfo Alvarez. And his words were, we should be doing work together. There's a lot of common problems. Groundwater contamination of arsenic is a daunting problem, it's a difficult problem shared by Mexico and China. And you can see his expression about learning about the efforts of our colleagues in Simvestab. Last year, in December, there was a delegation of Mexican scientists that came to Hong Kong. 11 of them moved together. The first thing they told me was, it's too far away. And it is. So that's why we need to put a little bit more effort to overcome this distance, right? The workshop grew. We had 56 presentations. Again, a very significant number of international support from colleagues and friends. And after that, we went to research centers in Shanghai, Beijing, and Xi'an for a few days. And I hope you have the opportunity to talk to some of my colleagues that were in this meeting, Sandra Rodil, Ileana Medina, I think from the Mexican delegation, those are the ones that were here. And they will tell you more about that experience later on. The first day of the workshop, it's in City University of Hong Kong. You can see here lots of expectations. And that's the first day of the work visit. This is midnight in Shanghai. We arrived right after the end of the 3-day workshop. And we were again tired, as our Chinese colleagues are now. But we are also very happy to share with you some of the achievements that I am writing down in this slide. I'm not going to read them all, but let me highlight that we have issued an open invitation to the Chinese Academy of Sciences President, Professor Chun Li-Bai, to visit Mexico. And we have got this very enthusiastic reply, and we are really hopeful to have the visit of Vice President Yang Chan visiting Mexico in November this year. And probably, as we were told, probably the President Chun Li-Bai next year. So there's real commitment from our Chinese counterparts, especially from the founding agencies. We have also very strong support from the National Natural Science Foundation of China, NSFC. And I'm going to talk more about this in a minute. Professor Yan Li is here with us. Professor Yan Li, thank you so much for agreeing to be a member of our International Advisory Committee. And I am very sure you took note of one of the slides of Dr. Moran about gender distribution of science in Mexico. Really, we appreciate that. You can see the smile of Sandra Rodil and Ileana Medina to support us. There is much that we need to do in Mexico as in other parts of the world, and we really appreciate your support to be here with us to make a voice for these efforts. The Natural Science Foundation of China is also supporting total about 30 Chinese scientists. Most of them, they have contacted directly, they have invited them directly. They are really strong personalities in science, leaders in their fields, and they are gonna, I went too fast. They are gonna join us in Cancun. I have a way about time, so I'm gonna hurry up. So they're gonna join us in Cancun to meet with our other scientists from Mexico and other parts of the world. The International Material Research Congress in Cancun is one of the largest, certainly the largest in Mexico, with about 1,800 scientists from 40 countries converging to this large conference in material science. There was a delegation that was supposed to arrive tonight from NSFC. It was going to be led by Professor Shu Li Yao, and they were having some work meetings with CONACYT and the Mexican Academy of Sciences. Unfortunately, their flight was canceled, and there was no way that they could arrange for an alternative flight to Mexico. And I will echo the voices of request of my Chinese colleagues to push for a direct flight between Mexico and China. There's one from Shanghai, but it would be great to have a Beijing, Mexico. Yes. Oh, fantastic! Great news. Some figures about the National Science Foundation of China, and these meetings unfortunately will have to be rescheduled, but we have heard that there's a strong compromise from NSFC to reorganize them at a later time. We have received some examples of concrete leads as a result of this 3-year effort to increase the collaboration between Mexico and China, and I'm just going to go very quickly through them. And then you can just look at the slides and then ask me about it and what do they look like, they're going to hit each other. No, it's not true. But there is a lot of enthusiasm. You can see the happy faces. Professor Jun Lee is with us. We have met with Professor Ignacio Gasol from Physics Institute in UNAM yesterday, and also the director of CICADET at UNAM. Also, we met with him yesterday. Our students are particularly happy about this effort because they have felt that they have a voice and they can ask questions and they get they get answers that they can understand. They appreciate the fact that they are being heard. And the reason for this is because we have a group of people that care. You don't go half around the world just to be traveled miles and miles without end if you don't care. You care. And thank you very much for your caring. That's the end of the trip in China last year, before we board from Xi'an back to Hong Kong. And this is other of our International Advisory Committee members. This is a picture taken at the entrance of Simvestab in 2015. That's the end of the workshop, the first workshop in Cancun. And with this, I'm going to take the moment just to thank all of our sponsors and co-organizers, including, of course, the Mexican Academy of Sciences, CONACYT, the National Science Foundation of China. The National University of Mexico has been very supportive. They give us a strong financial support and logistic support. They have always been represented with Dr. Sandra Rodil and Dr. Stephen Moon. The Universidad Autónoma de Aguascalientes has always been helpful. The Research Center of Environmental Sciences, my own university. AMC also gives us a strong support for this trip, as well as the Materials Institute, la Red Temática de Neurociencias y Nanotecnología, Simvestab, and some other companies that have supported us. And with this, I thank you very much for your attention, and we will continue to the next part of this morning session. And for that, I'm going to ask Xu Hao from the Embassy of the People's Republic of China to give us his own presentation. Thank you very much.
Muy buenos días a todos. Thanks to Dr. Moran and Dr. Antonio for giving me this opportunity to communicating with you. Today, I'd like to talk about progress of China's international cooperation in science, technology, and innovation with Mexico and all the world. I will also discuss with you about how to strengthen and enhance the network of cooperation between China and Mexico. But in recent years, China has actively promoted international scientific and technological cooperation on the basis of indigenous innovation and implement the innovation-driven development strategy, and is integrated into a global innovation network with a more open attitude. Now, China has established relations of science and technology exchange with 158 countries all over the world, and signed 110 intergovernmental agreements on cooperation in science, technology, and innovation. accredited 145 scientific and technological diplomats to 70 embassies and consulates. I'm one of the 145. And also, China participates in more than 200 organizations, international organizations, and multilateral mechanisms. Well, since the establishment of the Sino-US Innovation Dialogue mechanism in 2010, the Innovation Dialogue has become an important mechanism for communication with major developing countries in the field of science and technology. Also, China has established partnerships with major developing countries such as ASEAN, South Asia, Latin America, and Africa, implementing science and technology partnership program and young scientist exchange program. China has always regarded Latin American countries as an important partner. During the visit to Latin America in 2014, President Xi Jinping announced the establishment of the China SELEC Forum and proposed to hold the first Science, Technology and Innovation Forum. In the first Science and Technology Forum held in Quito, in Ecuador, Chinese Minister of Science and Technology, Mr. Wang Gang, announced the formal launching of China SELEC Science and Technology Partnership Program and the Young Scientists Exchange Program. In addition, China actively participates in international organization and mega science projects such as ITER program, SKA, and so on. Mexico is a major country with important influence in Latin America, and is the 15th largest economy in the world. China has always attached importance to developing bilateral relations with Mexico. During the visit of President Xi Jinping to Mexico in 2013, the two presidents announced to upgrade bilateral relationships to comprehensive strategic partnership. And this is the highest level of cooperation between China and the other countries. This year, we celebrate the 45th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between our two great countries. The cooperation between China and Mexico has entered a new historical stage. For example, the two sides have promoted bilateral relations to a higher level, established mechanisms of dialogue, such as the Intergovernmental Standing Committee. The two countries cooperate with each other, both in multilateral mechanisms, Group 20, APEC, and the UN. I believe that we will have greater progress in our cooperation in different areas in the future. Over the past 5 years, the science, technology, and innovation cooperation has become an important area of practical medical cooperation between China and Mexico. The most important mechanism for scientific and technological cooperation between China and Mexico is the Subcommittee on Science and Technology under the Intergovernmental Standing Committee. Since the establishment of the committee in 2004, 6 scientific and technological subcommittees have been held every 2 years in Beijing and Mexico City. The 7th committee will be held in Beijing in the 4th quarter. At the meeting, the two sides will develop the action plan of the next 5 years. Since the signing of China and Mexico Science and Technology Agreement in 1975, on behalf of the two governments, MOST and COMACIT have signed those two important agreements for strengthening the cooperation in science, technology, and innovation. Also, MOST and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Mexico have sent a memo for cooperation on high technology and its industrialization. The two nation space agency has also signed a memo for cooperation in space. Okay, I think these agreements are the basis of our cooperation on science, technology, and innovation between China and Mexico. According to these agreements, the two sides agreed to give priority to cooperate in these areas such as nanotechnology, biotechnology, clean energy, and so on. I'd like to emphasize that nanotechnology is one of the priority areas which the two sides agreed to. Chinese President Xi Jinping also stressed to promote cooperation in new energy, Earth space information technology, nanotechnology, when he met his counterpart, President Peña Nieto, in Hangzhou last year. Now, China and Mexico are promoting the cooperation in science, technology, and innovation through three main ways. The first is a joint call for research projects. MOST and COMACIT jointly call for and co-finance research projects in areas to which both sides has agreed. Each fund $300,000 for one project. In the first project has been generated and financed between the University of San Luis Potosí and Wuhan Pedo. And the second way is the construction of joint research center between China and Mexico. For example, MOST and the Ministry of Energy of Mexico, Ministry of Agriculture of China, and Zagarpa, the government of Henan Province and CIMIT have co-funded the construction of 3 joint research centers in areas of hydropower, fishery science and technology, agriculture, science and technology. The third is the exchange of scientists and seminarios. For example, China and Mexico Young Scientists Exchange Program, which was launched by MOST. The others, for example, exchange of information on measures and joint strategies for research and development. This is the first joint research projects co-financed by MOST and COMACIT between the University of San Luis Potosí and Wuhan Pedo. The two sides have signed a cooperation agreement in 2014 in Mexico. The first project has been financed by the International Cooperation Team Project MOST and International Cooperation Fund COMACIT. Just as the Director of International Cooperation on State, Dr. Abdullah Hassan, we start with the amount for an economy on the size of China. But the idea is that this is the first step, and we'll increase the work progress as the work progress our cooperation. So I think we will have further cooperation in a joint research project. In the area of clean energy, on the basis of the pre-communication and the common intention between the International Center on Small Hydropower of China and the National Institute of Electricity and Clean Energy of Mexico, most and CELER agreed to jointly build a platform for cooperation, support exchange of scientists and joint research projects. Now, the two sides will jointly finance the construction of this joint center in Mexico. According to the agreement, both sides will cooperate to develop environmentally friendly small hydropower technology and promote its application in Mexico. For example, the Chinese center will provide the scientists and the water resource evaluation and application of hydropower technology. The Institute of Mexico will provide the workplace and other conditions for joint research. In the areas of fishery science and technology, the Chinese academia, the Ciencias Pesqueras and Pesca have signed agreement last year in the construction of China-Mexico Fishery Science and Technology Cooperation Center for research, joint research. And the Ministry of Agriculture of China and Sakarpa will fund this joint center in the future. Also, China and CIMIT headquarters in Mexico continue to strengthen their cooperation. Last year, Vice Premier Minister Liu Yandong visited CIMIT and witnessed the signing a memo between the China Scholarship Council and CIMIT. In the same year, CIMIT and Henan Agricultural University signed a memo to establish a joint maize and wheat research center in Zhengzhou. In other areas of cooperation related to science and technology, for example, in water resource, in forestry, in health and medicine. In the last part, I will tell you about some of the policies and measures of Chinese science and technology department in advancing the international scientific and technological cooperation with other countries. Most the foundation on nature science and gas are the three main department government of the central government of China, which has resource to finance research and development in China. For example, most have an intergovernmental science, technology, and innovation cooperation key project under the National Major Research and Development Program. The foundation has the Foreign Young Scholar Research Fund, International Joint Research Program, GAS has a key cooperation research program, science and technology, talent training program. So I think we have different ways to strengthen our cooperation of Nano, Mexico and China in the future. For example, first is continue to hold a workshop every year and to enrich the form and content on the workshop. The second is to apply to related departments of China and Mexico. For example, gonna sit on CLA, AMC, on the Mexican side. The third is establish joint laboratories relying on joint research projects financed by the government of China and Mexico. But I think the most important thing to promote our cooperation is that both sides should have a common interest for our cooperation. And the Mexican government, for example, CONCIT or AMC put forward the demands and the proposal to China to most in order to obtain co-financing. Say,
sure.
yeah,
You're finished?
Okay.
Very good, thank you. Okay, so next on the schedule we will have a short coffee break, and then meanwhile we will get ready for the first roundtable. Thank you very much. Can I please ask the panelists of the first roundtable to come forward, please?
Hello, everybody. So, people who are interested in the program, please come. There is So, shall we start? Yes, okay. I'm Yan from Peking University, China. I'm really honored to chair the first roundtable discussion for renewable energy. Everybody first really understand that energy is the most, one of the very crucial issues for global development. So I think renewable energy gives us really the hope for the future life with greener, more reliable, and renewable energy source. So I think both Mexico and China side have already put a lot of efforts in this field. So first, I would like to invite professors from both sides to express some of their own ideas, then we can further discuss. So first, I think I would like to invite one of our hosts to, Maria.
Well, to start this roundtable, my impression about this workshop related to energy will be that we have a huge problem in Mexico in the moment that we have all this structural change in which renewable energy supposed to be very important in the near future. So the technological change that have to occur really need the collaboration with many national partners and international partners. And Chinese is one of the country that will be more than welcome to help us in this huge issue.
Chinese side people, professors, do you have some comments? I think you have.
First of all, it's my honor to be here, interacting with my colleagues in Mexico, learning the situations and the ways of solving problems in Mexico. In China, renewable energy, actually energy itself, and renewable energy are very, very important issues because China is developing its economy very, very quickly, and we need energy to do that. China is importing energy, so we do not have enough energy. So in the past 20 years or so, we have increased our productivity, our GDP by a factor of 4 to 5, and we have increased our energy consumption by a factor of 4 to 5. If in the next 20, 30 years, particularly with collaboration and cooperation with other countries in the world, including Mexico, if we also increase our productivity and GDP by a factor of 2 or 3, then we will use up the energy in the world and will contribute to a major carbon emission in the world. So this cannot be sustained. Renewable energy, funding renewable energy is very, very important in China. Indeed, our country has committed globally in working with other countries to address the energy issues and renewable energy issues.
Yeah. So what is the current situation of both sides about those research applications of renewable energy?
Well, thank you for organizing to invite me to be here. I believe that the main problem of Mexico community involved in research on renewable energy and environmental science the main problem is the low production of applied science. If we check the number of patents received by Mexican people in the last year, for instance, the last 2 years, 3 years, the number of patents is very small. Practically in all our university and research institutions, there are groups involved in research activity in material science. Material science dedicated to renewable energy and to environmental science. But this investment, this production, the scientific production is not related to the production of technology for application. I believe that this is the breaking point for us in the near future. It's necessary to impact to the production. In this sense, I believe that we most know about from China, because the China group has produced a very basic science, also applied science. In this sense, I believe that the cooperation between Mexico and China research in environmental science and renewable energy will be useful for us.
Okay, thank you. Professor Lee, do you have any comments?
Yeah, well, okay. Well, it's a pleasure to be here to discuss from energy. China, as Professor Lee introduced earlier, that it's such a big country and also increase economically so fast that it consumes the biggest energy now, more than the United States. So this is one of the challenges faced not just one country, it's actually the whole world, right? So energy consumption in China currently very critical. So renewable energy is particularly important for continuation of the increase of the economy. So in China, we have some of those areas I think is quite good one thing is nuclear energy. So nuclear energy is one area China has a very sophisticated nuclear power plant. It's now being new power plant built by China in England, United Kingdom, and also some other countries. So China is actively exporting nuclear energy to other countries. In China itself is building about 50 some nuclear power plants right now. So it will become the largest nuclear power plant country in the world. So this is one of the areas that China has invested heavily. So I heard there was some colleagues, several colleagues working in nuclear science. So this is one of the area, maybe if this country, the policy allows, then maybe that's an area kind of looking for collaboration. The other thing is China, I think the coal transformation part is probably the most advanced in the world, because the United States is mainly relying on oil. They have rich oil from the Middle East and also the United States mainland. But China, the major resource of carbon energy is coal. So that's why we have huge pollution right now there. But China has invested heavily in this coal transformation, especially, for example, China has several current industrialized plants already in China and also elsewhere to transfer, for example, coal to oil and coal to natural gas. So China also has invested heavily on the other carbon resources. So this type of research, as you probably, if you are a chemist, you would read in journals, there's huge amounts related to this basic research in this area. I think particularly interesting is this how to be renewable and clean. So the energy to be renewable clean, the catalysis process is extremely important. So this is the area we learned that in Mexico, there's also strong research in this area. China also has emphasized greatly in this area. So in order to transfer those organic compound or the carbon-based material, including nuclear energy, we need catalysis. So catalysis is the core chemical processes. 80% of the industry uses catalysis. So I'm glad to see that in Mexico, many scientists working in catalysis science. So I think this is the area we could explore further collaboration. China has a heavy investment in catalysis. We have many major grants on this catalysis research, both fundamental and applied. So if you have the opportunity to visit China, it would be interesting. You see that Dani Institute of Chemical Physics is one of the leading organizations, not just in China, in the world, in catalysis science. So they have several industrialized products already now. It's changing the way we use energy. So those are things I think we have a great potential to collaborate. The other thing is the desulfurization. The Chinese coal and this carbon-based energy has a huge sulfur contamination. I'm not sure in this country, but in China it's a big issue. So China has also worked on heavily using, for example, some rare earths catalysts to work on this. Rare earths, maybe, I think I heard that Mexico has very rich resources of rare earths. China is one of the biggest countries have the rare earths. So this is the area I think they are great potential to collaborate and work on with catalyst science and working with renewable energy. So I will just stop.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. I was learning France when I was in France several years ago. The French said we have not oil, but we have ideas. Yes. And in that time, I was reflecting that in Mexico we have oil and have ideas. But now in Mexico, the oil is a resource overwasted. Then now in Mexico, we start to develop the research in new materials, new materials that conveys the marriage between the energy, clean energy development. In this topic, in the schools at the Polytechnico, for example, we developed the materials, semiconductor materials for several applications, not only for photocatalysis, for example, for other examples, for the development of Gretchen cells, for example. It's a clean source of energy, and the carbon materials for development of for the supercapacitors, for example. In Mexico, we have a very great source of sun, and we have sun all the year, for example, and we have the rain in several steps of the years. Then it's great to be here for to exchange these ideas with the Chinese scientists about the technical skills for the best development of these new ideas between Mexico and China scientists. Thank you.
Well, I would also like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to this roundtable. And well, I agree with Professor Lee that the energy demand is increasing everywhere. Mexico and China are the countries which have the most important impacts for the use of hydrocarbon fuels. So we have to work about it. And I think Mexico and China can work together and make very interesting things. And we need to develop and also optimize renewable energy sources. And Mexico is located in a very privileged situation because we can use the energies of the sun, we can use also the air, the eolic energy. We can also use the ocean. And these energies are more cost-effective currently, and more cost-effective than the production of hydrogen, for example, or the methane, because the materials that we need to use to produce these fuels currently are very, very expensive. So we don't have to forget that the other renewable energies also we can work in new materials. For example, for the solar energy, the development of new materials to capture the energy of the sun. So, because I think most of us which are participating in this forum, we work in the development of materials. So we can collaborate and cooperate with the others researchers that work in those fields. And for example, in my institute, in the Institute of Energy, we're working with the Mexican centers for the research in energy, in the ocean, in the eolic energy, and also geothermal. Mexico has the most important places that have the geothermal plants, and so we can use that kind of energy. And well, also like to invite people to think how can we develop another kinds of renewable energy.
I wish to address 2 points. One is that my colleagues in Mexico rightly pointed out that in Mexico you have a lot of solar resources. And in the past 2 days, my colleagues from China have visited several research institutes. We now know that in Mexico, colleagues are not only looking for new materials to make better solar cells, but actually integrating solar cells together with other type of technologies, for example, cleaning water, reducing the VOC, decomposing VOC. So it's the integration of solar PV with other type of technologies to make a more efficient, more powerful energy products to solve our renewable energy issues and pollution issues. In China, making solar panel is a big business for us because around the world, typically every year, the total production is about 40 to 50 gigawatt of solar panels, and we made 60% of them. And obviously, we want to find new applications, new areas of sales. We want to sell them to Mexico, and we want to work with our colleagues in Mexico to find new applications, not just putting solar panels on the rooftop. During coffee break, I talked with Maria. Maria told me that we met in our my last visit in 2015. She told me that she put solar panels on her house already, and she is pleased with the cost saving by putting solar panels on the rooftop. Maria, I can tell you that if you do it today, your saving will be even more, because if you allow me to work with panel producers from China to put panels on your rooftop, the total installation cost is about $1 per kilowatt. You told me that your rooftop has been installed with 1 kilowatt, about 1 kilowatt of solar panels. Okay, so it will be around $1,000. We can do it now, so much less expensive than what you spend at the time when you put the solar panels on. Right? So in Germany, if we do that in Germany, then within 3 years, the investment can be recovered. In China, because our electricity price is lower than that in Germany, it takes a little longer to recover the investment. So it will take about 6 to 7 years in China to do the recovery of the investment without government subsidies. Okay. So by working with you folks, I envision that 3 to 5 years down the road, we will not only install solar panels on the rooftop, but we will install new products integrating solar photovoltaics with other technologies you people have been developing, integrating them to make even better products. The second issue I wish to address is that you raised a very good point, that we need multiple sources of energies to solve our problem, because solar panels at night, we have no electricity generation. Hydro, right? In the winter time when the rainfall is low, then we have no energy. So we need multiple, like you said, we need multiple sources of energy, complementary sources of energy. So in China, this is a key issue now. Okay? So we have projects, national key projects to address the requirement of coupling multiple complementary sources of energies for distributed requirements of energy. So, for example, a subdivision, industrial park, we want to use this type of mini-grid of management energy to resolve the problem.
Well, I forgot to mention another thing that you already talked about it. I think that we need to also to be able to go further in this kind of workshops or ideas about working on renewable energy, is to involve all the main actors, not only the government. We need to involve the enterprises, the people who want to help us or give us the money to make research. So that's very important. And so if we are able to offer, to show something very different from the point of view, economical point of view, so people who work in the enterprises will be interested to help us to develop research. So we have to involve the three main actors and also make, why not, society. Society is very important to make conscious, to try to tell people, well, right now you're going to spend maybe more money to buy what we call it in Mexico boiler. But in the future, that will work with the solar energy. But in the future, you will save more money. So that's something that we need to work also with the society and also with the three main actors: government, academy, and also the private sector.
Yes, yeah. So I think these are people to think.
And I would like to have some input from the Chinese people about two problems that I have seen in Mexico with the renewable energy. As a researcher, if I'm just working in generating new knowledge, then everything is nice, everything is beautiful. However, when you are talking about implementing renewable energy in the society, in Mexico society, we have huge issues with all this rejection. So in my mind, this philosophy that renewable energies can be an energy that is distributed along many routes, many places, becomes a lie when you realize that it's monopolized in just few sites, and then these people that used to have a way of living, our poor people, then all their land is gone, is stolen almost. So how do you handle that situation? As an academic secretary in the Renewable Energy Institute, I realized that there are a lot of issues like this. So we have a problem with massive production or massive generation that is not really the philosophy of renewable energy. So then how do you handle this? This is one point. And the other point is that we have all these new people, new generation that is growing with this climate change threats, and they really do not want fossil fuels. Nuclear energy is also one of the things that in their mind is a no-no. And you have a country that has oil resources and has a lot of renewable energy sources, but it has just a fixed amount of money. And you have a CONACYT center, the one that give us the money to do science, that is also with this dilemma. I have this fixed amount of money. Should I really keep doing fossil fuels? Or can I really go further and start thinking like the new era, the modern era, that what these young people are asking for? That's something that Mexico and China have in common. So you also have a lot of coal, and you have this problem. You have a lot of pollution, and you have a Chinese youth or young people that are positive, are reacting the way that most young people are reacting.
I think Professor Lee wants to see that.
So yeah, I guess China has experienced the rapid change from the 1980s. Before 1980, China is very poor, and we don't have money, and we don't have any support of any reformation. I think the past 30 years we had witnessed this significant change of the Chinese economy and the lifestyle. So as you mentioned, anything we look at for the future. If that's the right thing for the future, then it's something we must work on. So, for example, when the high-speed train, China has probably now it's definitely the most have most of the express train. So the express train in China is almost everywhere, reach all the area, reach 300 about 400 kilometers per hour in China. So it's very convenient. In the beginning, all the people didn't think it's necessary. We have so many people, we don't have to move around so widely. Why do we need a train everywhere? But now we realize this is actually extremely important, which changes the economy, help the economy, and also help the people's lifestyle. And I think this high-speed train in China might become a milestone in the Chinese history because they changed the whole way that people thinking and work. So this is some of the things that I think in Mexico currently maybe your energy is quite rich, and but the traditional way use of energy causes a significant problem for the future. So it is an education thing for the public. For example, nuclear energy, right? Many places are resistant. But if we rely on the fossil fuel, the fossil fuel doesn't last that long, and we don't have much in resources. Like oil is predicted will end by like 40 years, and then by that time it will be too late if you act on it. So that's why it's people are working different energies. Nuclear energy will at least now be considered as maybe a few centuries usage. So this is a global thing, but I think both depending on the country's real energy structure, but I think education, that's one of the responsibility of the scientists like us. So we also need to educate our public. So when we go in China, we give lectures, we always also talk with the public about what is need for the future, how to save the energy for our children without exhausting them. So yeah, so I think this is some very common issues we face both countries. I think for talking about this high-speed train, because Mexico is a very big country and you have a huge amount of population, so this is like China base. The express train actually extremely helped save energy in this sense, because I was in the United States for like 20 years. Everywhere we go, either if it's too far, we fly. And if it's close by means you drive within a day, then you take your own car, which actually quite a waste of energy, because you drive a car with one person, two person, just such a long distance. In China, the express train between the major cities helps greatly, because almost the seats are almost full, so you can always make money out of this. So you save a lot of energy for this transportation part. We were in Tijuana and taking flight to the other city and come to here. We always see if there's an express train, you don't have to take a flight and take such a long time, right? But I'll give you an example from Beijing to Shanghai. Well, I was in the southern part of China called Fujian, that is near Taiwan. When I was a graduate student, I go to Beijing, take a 45 hour. I remember that very clearly because my wife is in laws. But then I took a train last year, 7 hours with express train. Now you can imagine the life is totally different, 45 hours versus 7 hours. So it's a huge change. And then if everyone takes the train, save a huge amount of energy. So this is unrelated to renewable energy, but I think both ways helps to make the energy clean.
Yes, about Marina's concern, actually, I also would like to add words. Just now, Professor Lee used this express train in China as an example. Actually, you can never imagine at the beginning, people really call our express train the chair carrier. Chair carrier means no people really choose, really selected as express is too expensive. That's only 3-4 years ago. But now, the train is so busy. If you do not buy the ticket in 1 week in advance, you cannot get any ticket at all. So this is a huge change in a very short time. So it can change very quick. You see, maybe easier than what you imagine. It is difficult, but sometimes it's easier than you imagine. I think just now, people already, as this professor has already many things about the development of renewable energy, the problems, the concerns of both sides. I think collaboration is the only way to make it better. I heard that some collaboration is already studied. Yeah, I heard there is a bilateral workshop already held here, right? So could you please just say something about your this joint workshop?
It's a very long history. One academic of the Institute of Engineering, his son studied in the Tsinghua University with the Professor De Liu, which is the director of China Latin American Joint Laboratory for Clean Energy and Climate Change. He's also professor at the Department of Chemical Engineering, and so he was very interested to make research collaboration and also exchange of academic and also students with the Institute of Engineering, or in general with the UNAM, or now we can also invite other institutions that will be very interesting. And so he visited the institute last year, and so he said he would like to make some kind of workshop or seminar in the institute. And so the last June 30, he came with a delegation of several colleagues of him, of the Tsinghua University, and also he brought with him the people from the Tsinghua Innovation Center, Dongguan, also people from the participate in this seminar. And so the objective of this seminar meeting was to establish a cooperation scheme on climate change and renewable energy between the Tsinghua University, China, and the Instituto de Ingeniería or Engineering Institute, and the other units, with the possibility of having a joint laboratory, joint projects, and students exchange. So academic exchange. So we identified the research, the agreement for joint research projects that already the Professor Hao talked about a few minutes ago. But we found that this agreement has been, I think, cancelled. That's what the Conesi told us, and they say that only was open in 2014 for the issue of the space, and there was nothing about the renewable energy or climate change. And so we will try to push a little with people of the university, also with Conesi, to try to make possible that this continue, because it's very important to make that. And the Professor De Liu said that the Chinese Latin American Joint Laboratory for Clean Energy and Climate Change is organizing several training programs, so we can make a change of Mexican people. If, for example, in October 12 and 20, from 12 to 25 this year, they are organizing the development of industry for energy saving and low carbon training program. So it will be a selection, how you say, will be a selection of 3 or 4 people, for example, of each country. How there must be 2 persons of the government, for example. The trainees, they want to work about the climate change, low carbon, or clean energy, which Professor Lee talked about. and where we invite all the participants in the seminar that was held in the last June 30. But I didn't know that it would be this workshop or this forum, so maybe for another trainings program I can send you the information so people can participate in this kind of programs, trainings.
So thank you so much. So I hope this event today will help you to restart that project, that then you will have better future. Yeah. So I think Professor Lisa. Yeah.
Well, I think that when Marina mentioned different factors that are affecting our progress in renewable energy, I believe that there are different factors but must be put together. The social factor is important, but also the government factor and the industrial factor. It's necessary for the government to have certain stimulus to reduce for the enterprise that provide renewable energy to the network to reduce the cost for the sector, for the industrial sector, reduce the cost for the energy that the industrial sector takes from the network. It's necessary that this initiative is used in the past for Germany, for instance, and it was fruitful, it was useful. And in part, the progress of Germany in the renewable energy is part of this, that the government, the stimulus for the government. And the social, because many of us don't know how the cost of 1 kilowatt of hour of energy. We have a low culture of the area of energy. And also for the social items, this is Mexico is a country that for many years has used petroleum oil from a source of energy. That is Mexico in the past was an importer of energy as oil, and is logical that our social culture in the term of the use of renewable energy is low. This is, I believe that it's necessary to do an effort in the sense that the maintain together, the effort together for the social culture in this area, the effort for the government in order to stimulate the application of renewable energy, and also the participation of the industrial sectors. I believe that if we join all these efforts together, it's possible to increase the participation of renewable energy in the energy matrix of Mexico in the near future.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, short.
I will present two ideas very short, very briefly. Maria, you talk about the technology implementations, and I think so. You also address the policy issues in China. In order to push renewable energy into the market, into houses, we have deregulation. So deregulating the production and sales of power, electricity. So for example, in your house, now you can, instead of using electricity directly supplied by the power generator, you actually use the PV panels, right? And in China, we can also use the excessive amount of electricity generated by PV back to the power line. Okay, and then we can get money by supplying power. So this is deregulation. Okay, by deregulation, there will be more participants using renewable energies. And then in terms of research and development, there are new opportunities, because in order to address the deregulation, you need meters to measure the electricity backflows, right? You need sensor, you need other things. So now we have researchers in materials and in engineering to develop this type of control, energy backflow to the mainstream. Okay. Your second point is priority setting. You only have limited money, and then you have many priorities. So priority setting in China, in the US, we address these issues actually with new technology and new business to manage energy. You buying PV panels, install it on your rooftop. We don't want you to do that. There are companies wanting you to allow them to use your rooftop area for them to install the panels and then sell you back the electricity, and then they make money. Okay? So it solves the problem of this constraint, budgetary constraint, because you don't need to invest money. You only need to allow them to use your rooftop and buy the energy at a cheaper price. Now, in terms of research and development, there are new opportunities again, okay? Because the investors investing into this business, they actually want to maximize the incomes from their investment. So on the rooftop, as I said earlier, they don't want to put PV panels anymore. They want to put integrated systems so that they can charge more money. They can get more money as a return. So as I said, I'm happy to see that in Mexico there are these coupling PV technologies and other technologies together to make more interesting applications oriented products and technologies. So.
Yes. Yes, I'm very happy to see so much discussions about this topic. I think it's due to the time limitation. We have to stop. Before we finish this, I'd like to add only two sentences. One is that it seems there is real demands and common interest in renewable energy, and there is great room in collaboration. So to make it possible, it really relies on the efforts from everyone from you, and also we need to stimulate the participation from government, industrial, and also public. So I really hope this is a good start. Today is a good start. It's a good initiative, event. So we will have very good, bright future in this field for both countries. So thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you, Professor Kelly. Because of the time, I'm going to ask the next table to start right away. We will skip the break so we can catch up. So if I can call the panelists of the second round table, please. Yeah, but let them. Okay. Everyone? This is fine, okay.
Están cambiando de piso.
Okay, so hello everybody. We will continue with this roundtable to talk about a little bit about the other problem that we are issuing with this NANOMX project. And we have before that obviously for China, industrialization and economic growth means a lot of needs for energy. But we all know that there is a negative impact on this. Obviously for China it means a lot of GDP growth and poverty solution and many things. But we also know that there is a lot of pollution. And it's a big, big problem for water, air, and soil. So one of the things that now we are trying to do is, okay, how to remediate this problem? We have created, with some benefit for society, but now we have created a new problem. And so I'm going to give the word to a few people who is working in remediation, and this will be the idea, okay, we have created a problem, now we have to remediate the problem. So I'm going to start with Juan Manuel Peralta, that is working on this subject.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the committee organizer for inviting me to this forum. With respect to pollution in Mexico, I consider that this is a very important problem and is a common problem with China. Our countries have many people in the country, and this increases the necessity of the water, principally, to different activities in the house, industry, agriculture. In Mexico, we have an important problem with respect to water treatment. We have many treatment plants that use biological process. But now the pollution of water is very great and have many pollutants that is very difficult to treat with these biological technologies. So it's necessary to carry out different technology, some more efficient to degrade these organic compounds. Recently, I reviewed some data that the INEGI, that in Mexico only the 20% for the wastewater treatment that is produced is only treated. This problem is very important. So in this opportunity, the universities and institutes, we have to try to resolve this problem with economical process. This is very important. Us as researchers, we have many ideas to resolve problems, but many ideas have a low cost. So if we try to establish this to resolve a real problem, it's very difficult. But the industry is not don't pay these technologies with a high cost. My perception is that as a researcher is to carry out investigation that is possible to implement in the industry and to resolve problem commons. And I think that with respect the collaboration is very important and a good opportunity to try to establish strategies that we can collaborate with respect the equipment that is not in our laboratories in Mexico, but in China have many equipments to try a high level analysis or another things. And as a form to collaborate, for me, is my perspective. Thank you.
So we need to go to Jiali to talk us about what is the idea in China, for example, for remediation.
Thank you. Actually, most people know that along with the quick development of the economy in China, pollution and environment issue already become the very crucial issue in the whole society. So the government and the society already put this environment as one of the very first important thing in China. And there are a lot of efforts from the government side. We have much more strict policy for remediation now. For example, recently, just this year, the government already shut down. I just cannot count the number, huge number of the smaller factories, plants, because normally the smaller factories and plants, they produce more pollution and also this production of these plants are normally not efficient. So they already shut down many of the factories. And also from the research side, the more and more researchers are working on reducing the remediation. And also for the funding agencies, there's this environmental projects already at least very the priority of the funding topics. So this is a current situation in China. So I know one of my friends is a top scientist in this field. She told me she's very busy recently to talk with government, with companies, with scientists. She's just rushing everywhere in China. Yeah,
Very important policies. Strong policies. Vicente or Rene, who wants to talk about this in Mexico? Do we have policies really effective working in Mexico? Policies to avoid more and more contamination.
Yes, I think this is very important because we use more water than we need for make beer. there is no legislation for what's more important to use water for enterprise, for people, for agriculture, and also the gestion, the management of the water. Maybe one politician said it's more easy and less price to keep water from another countryside than maybe a very good plan for treatment. Also, in the research, there are many people that make membrane with graphene for take water for seawater. But the most important is the water in the cities. If you make pollution in the cities, you have to search how to reuse this water and not use water for another countryside, because you damage the ecosystem as another city, also for animals, for other ecosystem. I think this is very important, and also education for people. Education involve people in what is the cost for use more water than energy. I think this is the way the politicians have to concentrate.
Okay, so you get to a new point, saving water, for example, or saving resources in general. Ready, please?
Okay, well, talking about remediation and important topic, water. I think in China, in Mexico, as was already mentioned, is a common problem. For example, talking about drinking water. In Mexico, we usually do not drink water that comes from the pipe directly to our houses. In China, I don't know what is the case. The same. But the water we receive is called potable water. So we should be allowed to drink this water without any problem. So it's a big issue in both countries. But for example, in Mexico, I think if I remember properly, we are the second country in the world that consume more bottled water, because we don't trust, again, the water that comes in the pipeline. So that's a big issue again. But I think the big problem is not in Mexico, at least in the big cities, is in the village, where they don't have potable water. They drink what they have. And a common problem, again, between China and Mexico is, for example, arsenic. Arsenic is a big issue. A lot of people are doing research in arsenic, but the problem is still not solved. We still need more cost-effective technologies. And talking to Professor Bijan, he's working in that area. I'm working in that area. Many colleagues are working in that area, but the problem hasn't been solved. Another big problem we have in common is fluoride. Fluoride is in China, is in many parts in Mexico, and of course in many other countries around the world. And so we have many things to do between China and Mexico. You know? Another important topic regarding contamination, we still rely in fossil fuels. But these fossil fuels, of course, most of them are highly contaminated. For example, with sulfur, with the nitrate compounds, all these kind of molecules will generate acid rain. It's a big issue. Again, in Mexico, in China, probably the same. So it's another very important issue. And it was already mentioned, as the countries grow industrially, we have more contamination in water, in soil, in air. And of course, China is growing a lot in the last 15 years. It's a big change, but I'm sure China has a lot of problems with contamination. The same in Mexico. So talking about remediation, there are so many things. Now, talking about scientists working with carbon materials, with materials in general. In Mexico, one of our colleagues was already mentioned, but we have ideas. Unfortunately, the economical support in Mexico now is not that, or is not what we would like. In China, I'm sure, you have a lot of support for research. That's the big difference. So of course we can work together. We have ideas. I think we have very talented people in Mexico. But sometimes we need the economical support. So I would like to stop here to give chance to my colleagues and we'll talk a little.
I am saving Benjamin for the last minute, but first than that, I'm going to ask Enrique, because we have been heard saving water, and we heard before, probably from Professor Jung Lee, saving energy if we use a high-speed train instead of using 10,000 cars to move from one region to another. So I want to think about saving energy. Could we also use this point to reduce pollution?
Yes, thank you. Yes, this is a quite interesting area of research, which is being developed in Mexico in, I won't say too much groups, but there are many groups in all the country working on tribology. Materials with enhanced tribology. This means less friction coefficient, less rate of wear rate, sure. So in this sense, these groups are developing new materials with these kind of characteristics, with these kind of properties that can be used in the industry and that can be very useful in order to save energy. In this way, pollution or many other problems of damage to the environment can be also solved. It's another way to attack this problem. And this, I think, would be a very interesting area for collaboration with our Chinese colleagues. I haven't heard about this from they, but it would be interesting to hear about this type of research.
If we can stop the pollution from the very beginning, that's definitely something very important. In China, we put a lot of efforts in such as research. For example, chemists are working on developing some new greener process for production. For example, Professor Lee already mentioned in China this research in catalysis with a higher efficiency and greener process, starting with some more better precursors with less radiation. A lot of researchers do have make up big progress recently. In the laboratory, and some of them already go to real industry. So that's what we are. We really, a lot of scientists working very hard on this issue.
So now, I want to call the attention to the other words that this is called nanomaterials. And then I want to invite Binjan to tell us if we are actually opening a new Pandora box with new energy pollutants, which are all the nanomaterials that we are producing all around the world. So please.
Yes, so nanotechnology will play a very important role, I think, in environmental science. But there's still a lot of challenges. And as I see, because people may have more ideas, I see there's a few challenges. For example, to produce nanoparticle in tons, very large scale. That's a still challenge. I know in China only 1 or 2 places really can do this, and still people are still working on this hardly in such a large scale. Because when you use to treat plants, very large plants, you need that. Otherwise, it's not very useful. Another thing is, I think we need, and we use a very similar approach. Just take different nanoparticle, different carriers. And to do that, use desorption, some use catalysis, that kind of thing. Now we need to make a composite to make several nanoparticles to use desorption, catalysis,
even bio stuff, but microorganisms to treat water and to very comprehensive treating. This is a new challenge, and so some people in China are working on. Another is a safety standard. We use nanoparticles to treat the very toxic compound. Some nanoparticles may be released into the drinking water after treatment. These nanoparticles also carry some toxic compound. They are not just simple nanoparticles. They complex with some other toxic compound. How to regulate it, how to evaluate the safety to make standard for doing this treatment. This is a new area and we need to look on. Finally, I have a question for Mexico scientists. Because in China, in the environmental science, we're working on very comprehensive area, soil, air, water, electronic trash. That's all together, all the process. In order for our joint research in the future, I want to know what's the focus here. And I think your air quality is not too bad. Probably that's not the focus. So maybe for our joint research, we need to choose some focus area.
Well, I think that our air quality is quite bad in some cities. Not as bad as in Beijing, That is an issue for us. The one that we are living in Mexico City, we have problems. We know that once that the winter starts and the end of the winter, then we cannot go out in the morning to go jogging if we wanted to, because the air quality is very bad. So we have an issue with air quality. Water is our main concern. You see, a lot of people is working in water because this country has less resources of water, for example, compared to other countries, and we are just wasting water. We use it, we throw it away, and we are not recycling the water. And so this is something that why we have people working in water in particular. And soil, I don't know, somebody knows about soil, but I think there is a big contamination. All the regions where we have mining, and all the regions around, and I guess this is also a problem for China, it's a big problem there. What are we doing? Here in the country, we have people working mainly in water. This is maybe the focus, but I don't know if you want to mention something else, please.
Yeah, certainly I agree. The main topic probably now is water. Talking about soil contamination, as some of you know, in Mexico we conduce the gasoline and diesel, for example, in piping. So sometimes we have oil spill, gasoline spill, diesel spill, and of course these fuels contaminate the soils, and then we have some problems with aquifers. So there are several problems in Mexico regarding that. But as already was mentioned, in Mexico we have a huge arid zones. So when we don't have enough water, so we have to have some wells to extract water. So this water comes contaminated with heavy metals, and of course in some places arsenic comes from that. So that's a big topic in Mexico.
I would like to give the opportunity to somebody from the audience to make some questions to our panelists. I don't know, please, Rosa.
I'll continue with what just mentioned. I would like to know if what do you think about the pollution in Mexico? Not only water, also air is one of the most polluted cities in Mexico City, and I think there are only a few people working about the development of materials or processes to treat related to air, and I think if we don't pay attention or we don't work about that, we have very serious problems, health problems because of that. And also, I work not only in the development of nanomaterials or etc. Also in my research group, we try to make process of industrial wastes to try to develop or to improve their photocatalytic characteristics in order, or we try to use it directly without any treatment. And we use it as photocatalyst, and we have found they have very interesting properties, and they have very interesting results. And so I think in that way we can not only try to make a remediation or the contamination or pollution that we have in water or in air. We try to reduce the pollution that these wastes can represent to the environment and also to the health. And I don't know if you can say something about that.
About this?
Well, I don't work in catalyst, but Vicente work. But I would like to mention something regarding the air pollution. Yeah, I agree. In Mexico, we don't have too many people working with air pollution. How can we stop this pollution? Well, as I mentioned before, in Mexico we already rely in fossil fuels, so we have to change, as was already mentioned in the last roundtable. We have to try to use another kind of energy, a clean energy. Regarding policies, yes, we do have policies, many policies actually, in water, in air, in soil. Unfortunately, we don't reach the standards, exactly. So it's another problem that has to do with probably with the government, I don't know.
Yes, maybe we have to concentrate in process, low temperature process, short time for maybe, I don't know, the oils, to use solar system for save energy. And also one problem in Mexico is for gas-based studies, it's more expensive, the equipment for controlling, for monitoring, like using water. So this is now a big challenge with the new politician for CONACYT from the government. We don't have this equipment for making this kind of studies. So this is one of the problems now.
Well, I would like to add something about the films with better technological properties I was talking before. So in terms of the nanotechnologies and nanosciences, it is important that these materials are made, are fabricated, are nanostructured materials. It has been demonstrated that when you do that, you can obtain better properties of these materials. And this is important because, I give an example, the cars, we can fabricate cars with this type of materials being used, so they can have a more efficient work. And this certainly will reduce the pollution they are doing now, because in cities like Mexico, like in China, there are too much cars, and they are making too much pollution, because those cars are working inefficiently. So one research is devoted to improve this efficiency in the cars, is being made through using materials, nanostructured materials, in the form of thin films that can make better, enhance the work of these cars by using this type of materials. This type of research is being done in Mexico by several groups.
Because we just talking about cars. In China, government put a lot of efforts to encourage the usage of luxury car. I think China is currently the #1 producer and consumer of luxury car. So one reason is we have the very big issue of this air pollution in China. That's one thing I would like to mention, that also China is the #1 producer of lithium battery. The other thing about this air pollution, I know many of my friends, my colleagues working on this remove of the air pollution. Either through, for example, one of my colleagues already developed a procedure, just not only the facility, but the whole procedure to remove the pollutants, including nitrogen oxides, sulfur-containing compounds of the industrial exhausts. And also another colleague are working on morphs. They are trying to use morphs to filtrate the air pollutants. They already have done models, this system to put on the window, very, very easy, very cheap. So yeah, so in this field, I think we can collaborate.
Because in Mexico, we are not doing research on air pollution because it's too expensive and we don't have the equipment, and China already have the equipment and the experience, so this is an opportunity to work together. No? Binja, do you want to add something? Or I want to challenge one question, and I think Marina is in agreement with me, but I want to.
I think that several environmental scientists supposed to come here, but they could not come with this trip because they only have 7 days. So they will be in Cancun. In Cancun, we will have a joint discussion about 10 environmental scientists and scientists from your country. I hope you will be there. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that we know, and because Binjian called the attention to me, is that we don't have in Mexico one institute devoted to environmental and climate change issues. So this is something to say to our people here, that actually they have, and they are going to be 7 people from the environmental, from this research laboratory on environmental issues, and then they are looking for all these areas, water, air, soil, and they are really concerned, and they have fantastic equipment over there. And in Mexico, we don't have it. So definitely this is an open opportunity for us to work with them together. Yes, please.
One thing about the last issue that you talked, and we have in Mexico at the UNAM, the university programs that try to put everything together concerning climate change and also environment issues and so on. We are trying to fix that about talking about the university programs. But my question is for the Chinese people, is about the education. Do you have any undergraduate programs, new undergraduate programs concerning remediation and also clean energy? I am asking this because I know that in Brazil, in the University of Sao Paulo, they opened just for 6 years ago an undergraduate program about clean energy. And they accept 1,000 students every year. We have a new program in the Institute of Energy in Cuernavaca that have this new undergraduate program that we accept only 25 students every year. You must correct me, between 25 and 30. So if you accept 1,000 students and you prepare people to work in this kind of projects, then you are doing something. So I want to know if China has some kind of programs about this. Thank you.
As I know that all the major universities have a school of environmental science and engineering. For example, China University School of Environment, we recruit between 100 to 200 undergraduate every year. So in school, there are 500, 600 undergraduate with this kind of training.
No, you don't want to ask? No? Okay, here.
Yes, I have an appreciation about the important topic that Dr. Lee. The water remediation is not really seen not as a cost problem. I think that we can change the collaboration between the nanomaterialists and the experts in the water treatment. For example, to see a big problem like polluted lake that in Mexico there is a very big problem. and to involve the population and obtain some product for the benefit for the social. For example, it's possible to produce hydrogen from polluted water. Yes, and take an advantage of this problem, and not only to see like a big problem and cost problem, but a problem that can be the social can be obtained a product, a benefit.
Thank you. I think that they do have some opinion for nanomaterials application in water pollution, for example, the leak pollution. But in my own opinion, there is more possibility for bioprocess, which is normally easier to control, cheaper. Nowadays, using nanomaterials in this field, it's not that practical, at least because of the cost. In the future, it may be possible, but nowadays, I think more efforts it just comes from biosystems, some bacteria, micro, like that. I'm not familiar with that field, but just I heard and I learned from friends that most of efforts in China it just come from this bio.
Yeah, I can add a little bit because we do consider this kind of like emergency treatment materials. The best way is to use natural stuff, natural material, such as some special soil from somewhere or from something from wood or something in very large scale and treat this kind of situation. Because other nanomaterial is too expensive. You cannot use that quantity to do this kind of thing. Yeah.
But if we can manage the electrochemical treatment with nanomaterials and the water treatment by the nanomaterials, I think it's possible to obtain a benefit of the pollution problem.
Well, thank you. So before we finish, because we are nearly reaching the 2:20, I wanted to ask something. We have been hearing about renewable energy, and I totally agree that we need to find some new ways to produce energy which is sustainable, and because the fossil fuels are going to end, so we need to find a solution. But for a country like Mexico, where we still have, thinking about pollution, we need the renewable energy. At some point we need it. But right now, I'm not sure if this is our biggest issue, that we really need the renewable energy, or the biggest problem that we are creating is pollution in all our cities. So, do you think that the safest solution at the short time for Mexico will be save the forests instead of investing money on creating new energy methods? Because I think that that's one problem. The pollution is a problem because we are also destroying all our green areas. And we are allowing the big companies to destroy completely the forests in Mexico. And then I always ask myself, should we put more effort on saving the forest or more effort on creating new energy methods? So I don't know, I want to put it in the table and I want somebody to try to think this answer, because it's always going around in my mind and I'm not sure which is the best. Volunteer. Okay, I knew, Marina.
It seems to me that there is this dilemma between energy and pollution and ecosystems, But what is clear is that we have a government, I'm talking about Mexico, we have a government that do not have a clear vision of what is going on. For an example, they are privileging the individual instead of the collectivity. When you are talking about one solution is going to be having this huge area for some solar photovoltaic system. Huge area, I mean that many photovoltaic systems that is going to feed energy into your home in a sustainable way. If you devastated this huge area that before it has a lot of green spaces, then you are doing nothing. You are just fooling yourself. Okay, so it seems to me that the problem is the lack of vision. So solutions that are plenty, but you have to find a way in which all the solutions go in the same direction. And it's a solution for energy, it's a solution for water, it's a solution for pollution. That's my opinion. So, and if you allow me to say something, it seems that my appreciation of this panel is that the Chinese people is very happy with their government, the politicians, and Mexico is very unhappy with them.
Maria is really right to raise this point. But on the other hand, in terms of technology, from the technology point of view, there is a branch of science and technology to address that point. For example, we have colleagues studying life cycle analysis. So for any products, for example, your cell phone or your battery, okay, from the first step of production, including all the raw materials, to recycling it, okay, the total lifetime, what is the energy consumption, what is the materials consumption. So there is a branch of science and technology addressing that problem. In terms of business management, we also have this quantitative analysis of energy payback time. So let's say, for example, if you produce a solar panel, putting it on your roof to generate clean energy, then we ask, okay, when you install it, how many years, okay, will you pay back the energy you use to produce the product? So typical, for example, for solar panels is around 1.5 to 2 years now. So, and the product can be used for 25 to 30 years. Okay, so in that sense, yes, I can burn a few trees and produce my solar panels, okay, and in 1.5 to 2 years, I could have energy return, clean energy returns.
But then you don't have the trees, and that's my point. You don't have the trees. Destroy it. Yes, please.
About your question, I don't know if we can survive without energy, but I know that we cannot survive with the forest and the nature. So my balance is to remediation. I'm sorry.
Or not creating the problem, probably. Please.
Well, I do believe that we have options. Like in the case of energy, we can create, like for example, biodiesel, and we don't need to use raw materials. We can recycle, like for example, oil, use oil, and we can create biodiesel. So we can follow many examples from, I'm a chemist, so we can follow many examples from the principles of green chemistry, and I think we can give solutions that not necessarily will abate our resources.
Okay, so we need a lot of things to do, no? Save energy, save water, save the green, save the forest. I mean, we need a lot of things, and at the same time, we want to keep the quality of life that we have now, or even better than that. So it's a lot of work to do, so I would like to thank our panelists to give us their own ideas and probably some solutions that we can apply into this difficult problem that we're trying to address. Thank you very much.
Hello, just to inform you that the lunch will be served down in the auditorium. You wish to go down a little bit down, and then we go to this round building, and we will get it in dinner there. Sorry, lunch there. Ya les dije dónde. Se le pasa demasiado el programa.
No, no, ahí voy. Gracias.
Así que estaba yo fuera. Y la misa de
Muy bien. Creo que la gramática es más fácil. Vamos a probarlo. Vamos a probarlo.
Bueno, sí. Vamos a comer todos. Ah, no, sí, claro.
Abrí un Word para bajarlo de la voy a entrevistar
sí, puede pasar.
Listo, vámonos a comer. Caviar.
Y ahora
¿Listo? Ah, yo dije, ya perdí el día. Sí, nada más tu celular, tu grabadora. Sí. Vamos a comer ahorita. Ah, sí. ¿Sabes qué es? Pero la comiste mucho. Sí, vamos. Yo también les pasa.
Sí, estoy pidiendo y hacemos los logs.
Bueno, los espero.
Sí.
En cuanto terminen esto, vamos a comer. Claro, ya me están demostrando en todos los. Allá los esperamos, ¿eh? Muchas gracias.
Sí.
Mexico is on its way to become a knowledge-based economy and society. Because we know that knowledge transforms.
Bienvenidos al Consejo Nacional de Ciencia y Tecnología, Forma Ciencia. En el siguiente recorrido, compartiremos con ustedes la fuerza transformadora de la ciencia, la tecnología y la innovación en México.
The National Council of Science and Technology was born in 1970. CONOCY, due to its acronym in Spanish, is the federal agency in charge of implementing public policy regarding science, technology, and innovation. It also finances the activities concerning scientific, technological, and innovation research in Mexico. The special
Dejes de estar descubriendo las otras presentaciones y esa musiquita. Sí, bueno. No, no, se está como segundo papel, pero ustedes, entonces, si hago la mano, la posición, se salga, ya. Estos dos son estos, los que estamos usando. Ok, entonces esos dos vamos allá. Entonces vamos a cambiar. Sí, ya lo cambiamos.